Hello and welcome into the latest edition of Pat's Latest. I'm your host, Mike Gambardella, as we jump into the latest news surrounding the New England Patriots. And not to make you wait any later, but we have to start with a talking head that probably gets too much attention. And he does say inflammatory things, and he does it on purpose, and he gets people talking about it. And that's exactly what we're going to have to do here today, because Stephen A. Smith, just 2 days ago, went on ESPN and was talking about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and the run that they've had, and obviously a big AFC championship game that's coming up here. And we have to touch on this because on the debut episode of Pat's Latest, which just aired recently, we talked about a potential new NFL dynasty in the Chiefs, and obviously they are one, but where they stack up against the Patriots, who are regarded as the NFL's greatest dynasty. Tom Brady played the major role in getting them there, Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft and everyone else. And obviously the Chiefs now have their run coming through. And we went through some of those numbers and facts and figures around what the Chiefs need to do to become that next greatest dynasty. Well, Stephen A. Smith took it a step further. He went on and said, should Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs accomplish the three-peat? Now, granted, again, that is something that Tom Brady never did. He never won three in a row. It's extremely difficult to do, especially in today's day and age of the NFL. Not anything to take away from it. If Patrick Mahomes does that, phenomenal accomplishment, and then put into the conversation, in my perspective, for the greatest dynasty of all time. Stephen A. Smith went out and said, if Mahomes does this, he becomes the NFL's greatest quarterback of all time. To me, it's a hard stop and a giant question mark. And we lead with, why did Stephen A. say these things? He does that to get this reaction. So we've addressed incorrect Stephen A., but just want to run through a few things. 0-2 versus Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, in the AFC Championship against the Patriots, and in the Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Should the three-peat happen, as Stephen A. thinks it will, I agree with him, to be perfectly honest. I think it will. But if that does, here are just a few of the things that Patrick Mahomes, and again, must say that he has a very long career ahead of him and could do these things, but needs to have the true GOAT debate. If the three-peat does happen, you start to have those conversations, sure, but these things, they would still be missing from Patrick Mahomes' trophy case. 4 more Super Bowls, an MVP award, 18 playoff wins, and give or take 400 touchdown passes. So while Stephen A. Smith may be ready to crown Patrick Mahomes as the NFL's greatest quarterback of all time, maybe we give it just a little bit more and maybe just one more week or two before we get into that full conversation. Looking at things that are actually taking place in the NFL, Ohio State wide receiver Emeka Egbuka has declared for the NFL draft. And obviously the Patriots extremely needy at the wide receiver position. And we've talked about Travis Hunter and Tet McMillan as two options at the spot that the Patriots currently stand at and could be options for them. Egbuka had the draft taken place, say, 4 months ago, may have been in this conversation. He was overshadowed this past season, in spite of Ohio State winning a national championship, by freshman wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, who completely balled out and will be in a conversation to be in the Keyshawn Johnson mold of, could he be a number 1 overall pick one day? But Egbuka did slide back. So I think he will be a first-round talent and could be an option for the Patriots should they decide to move back around the draft board or get back into the end of that first round. Again, wouldn't see them taking at the number 4 pick, but if they did take an offensive tackle at that time instead of the wide receiver or traded back at that spot as well, address the offensive tackle. Banks and Campbell will continue to be those two big names up front, and we'll eventually get into those later first-round tackles. That could be an option. But Egbuka could be there in the mid to late first round if the Patriots wanted to get into the discussion there. So another option for the Patriots, again, first things first, have to get through free agency. T. Higgins and Chris Godwin at the top of that list. Keep an eye on this weekend what Hollywood Brown does for the Chiefs, and as a free agent, somebody that could be a potential option, not just for the Patriots, for a lot of teams out there that are looking for more pass catchers in a very pass-happy NFL. As taking a look as a more serious matter, Jabril Peppers, who was arrested during the season and did miss some time as well, finished his trial today, and he was acquitted of all charges, which was great to hear for the Patriots starting safety, and hopefully we'll see him back on the field here as well. The big revelation from that was actually a former teammate of Jabril Peppers and on the Patriots was mentioned in this case. Juju Smith-Schuster, who the Patriots signed not too long ago and eventually cut before the start of the season. It turned out he was actually involved in this case, which unfortunately did involve a domestic violence and assault charges. The 2-day trial wrapped up with, again, Jabril Peppers being acquitted of those charges, but Juju Smith-Schuster turns out to be involved with the girlfriend of Jabril Peppers, so not a good look for Juju Smith-Schuster, and again, just makes something look worse when the Patriots had a chance to give the same contract to Jacoby Myers, potentially have him stay in New England, and unfortunately just another bad look for a tough time for the Patriots. Want to address, quickly move forward, and hopefully get Mike Vrabel, Elliott Wolf, Robert Kraft, and the rest of the Patriots faithful moving forward to the right things as they go through what they need to here as well. Wrapping up the show here today for us, we want to spotlight an interesting thing going on in the NFL. Obviously, coordinators flying around, head coaches flying. Patriots got their things out of the way early by getting Mike Vrabel to come back to New England. They actually did look at a couple other options. Ben Johnson, who ended up in Chicago, and Liam Cohen was a name as an offensive coordinator that a lot of teams were seeing were available. Could have been an option for the Patriots should they have wanted to go that route. But Liam Cohen, at that time, seemed he was going to stay in Tampa Bay, has worked absolute wonders with Baker Mayfield, back-to-back playoff appearances for Tampa Bay, and Liam Cohen actually having a New England tie himself, being from Rhode Island. And full disclosure, did go to my rival high school at LaSalle. I played against him while I was at Hendricken, and no, I never did sack him. He was very, very good. He is also a very, very good offensive coordinator and now has become the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. A lot of moving parts around this situation that has had people like Adam Schefter go on Pat McAfee's podcast and talk about how he's never seen a team so irate to lose an offensive coordinator. The problem with this situation was Liam Cohen was going to interview for Jacksonville, the head coaching job, decided that it wasn't going to be a good fit for him because Trent Baalke was still the GM at the time. When Jacksonville decided to move on from Doug Peterson, they kept their GM, which was mildly surprising. Cohen goes through the process, doesn't like that the Baalke is still there as the GM, and just a day later, the owner of the Jaguars decides to fire the GM as well. In that same time frame, the Buccaneers made Cohen the highest paid offensive coordinator of all time. Impressive, really, but didn't last very long, as in that same time frame, Cohen went through the interview process, talked to the Jaguars, and actually not only was given a hefty contract a la Ben Johnson with Chicago, but also will have input on who that new GM comes to get him the players that he needs. So unprecedented access and decision-making power. Can obviously see why that went that way, but not happy for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and losing their offensive coordinator and going through that process. All to say, there's going to be more firepower, more big offensive performances coming in the NFL, and very interested to see what those look like in the coming years, as we'll sure to see Cohen's offense going up against McDaniels and Drake May, what Mike Vrabel and the defense do against coordinators and quarterbacks like this will be big topics coming through for years to come. That'll do it for us here on this episode of Pat's Latest. Be sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share with your friends as we bring you the latest information on everything Patriots related. Fight on, Foxborough.